Thanks, Caesar. Yeah, I ended up having to work on it a bit outside of the live stream. Oh, I don't really need my own voice on here. Just because I was like, I gotta get it done, and I didn't. It was not a good time to stream, so. Sorry, I couldn't share every bit of the process, but at least there will be, the Procreate time-lapse video, right? Yeah, I want it to be one of the prints that we offer with the Kickstarter campaign that just launched today for the book. So I want to get it done so that we can share it, and I can move on to the next one, and we can share that as we go. Let people in on the process a little bit. I'm trying to get some of the deeper accent shadows, but also just some like kind of occlusion shadows happening, just to give it a little more depth. It's fun because they're not really receiving a ton of direct light, right? They're getting more kind of ambient light. I feel like the sun is sort of like off behind them to the left somewhere, so the side of them that we're seeing isn't directly lit. And it's a fun lighting scheme to kind of to play in. And we'll get some light bleed happening, and it'll be cool, I hope. As long as I don't fuck it up along the way. Yeah, man, so am I. I'm really gonna try and keep it more regular. I don't know if I'll be able to announce it every time necessarily, but I feel like, hey, at least if I just can pop on for a bit here and there, we can get this stuff going again, right? Let's get some, she's gonna be a little trickier because she's so small. Like it'd almost be easier to go the other way and just throw some shadow on her overall, and then erase out the lights. So I feel like she'll have more shadow than light anyway. Cool, good to know. Well, I'm glad you could at least pop in for a little bit, and I'll definitely at least post the Procreate time-lapse video at some point as well, so you can still get at least the whole process at some point. We'll see. But thanks for joining. You know, even if it was brief. You know what I should get in here is her offering. Just because that will affect her light. Because what she's offering is like a sacred blue flame. Whoa, huge. Let's see. Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. It's tricky because we're putting the flame on top of an already like bright background. You know what? Special effects don't always work. We're gonna paint it. I like that better. We can get our own sense of glowing and wonder. We don't need no special effects. But because this will be, you know, affecting the lighting on her, that's why I wanted to get it in there. Cool. Alright, let's get back to our lighting. I don't usually zoom in that much when I'm doing a lot of this stuff, but I feel like for you guys watching, it's probably a little more interesting if I do zoom in, so you can actually see what the hell I'm doing. But I'm pretty sure this is zoomed in over 100%. These are going to be A4 prints, so they're not huge, so I don't need to I don't really need to go crazy on them. Strictly speaking, the top planes would still be catching quite a bit of light. Like, there's a lot of light in the sky, but I'm choosing to stylize that a bit. But generally, any sky that's still so bright, yeah, that would still be throwing around a lot of light. Okay, gesture controls. Let's work. But it's okay to stylize sometimes, you know. If it's for the sake of design, I think it's okay. Let's get some accents on her. I think what'll really start to kind of bring both her and the dragon thing to life a bit more will be just when I bring in the lights as well, and hopefully that'll help. And then I'm going to be doing some actual more painting and rendering on top of all that stuff, but I want to get the base for everything in, for the lighting and all that, because then it's just so much faster once I have that in and I can just color pick and kind of fly through it a bit. This is just like the less tedious part of the setup, because at least I get to play with lighting and stuff still. It's hard when you start getting so much going on. It's kind of like, wait a second, alright, stack this stuff up, work our way back to front or front to back, whatever helps it make sense. I don't want these rocks to be completely like square and jagged, but I do want them to have some parts that maybe are a little sharper. Let's do some lighting. Get our rim light. How bright are we here? Actually want the rim light in this case to be pretty bright. And the important thing when doing rim lighting is to make sure might be too much there, that it's wrapping around the form a bit. You don't want it to be too even, or it'll just look like a weird light outline and it won't look right. So, you know, there's usually a bit of kind of back and forth that needs to happen. Right, am I here? It's tough when you only get like a little kind of sliver put up against something that's near the same value, even if technically they're a bit away from each other, they'll just blend in. But that's okay. You can play with some lost and found edges that way too. And it's like an artist's dream. We love that shit. Lost and found edges are like our bread and butter. And he will have whiskers, but I'm not going to throw those in until like the end, because whiskers are only effective if you really just do a nice, quick, single line. So here, oh, come on. Again, we'll do a bit of push and pull to get the shapes of the hair in there. So our smudge tool comes in handy, just like any kind of textured smudge tool, and then you just have to kind of play with the settings and find what you like. One of the best things for getting a nice hair texture though. Super quick, easy. No muss, no fuss. Technically that sun is on the far side, so I don't think this would be catching too much light, because big neck would be kind of blocking some of that. So but the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to put in a kind of transition tone that'll be a nice like warm tone to get a bit more life in that fur. I should probably actually do that first, as I keep doing this. The only reason I say I should do it first is because I'll also use it for some transillumination, and I should do that. Let's do that. Let's do this right. Get some transillumination going. First, let's get that pretty hot. But you don't want to overdo it. We're just going to kick that light coming through the wing a bit here. I don't want to go crazy with it, but I do want some of it. Although who knows how much of that will show once we get... Yeah, those will show. Cool. Thanks, Grim. I appreciate that. Appreciate it a lot. It's, I didn't always used to love being so subtle with things, which is so weird for me to think about, because now I love it. But I think I used to just get a little too impatient, maybe, to really manage it properly. But then what happened was, over time, especially like working as a sketch artist, Sorry, I'm just thinking, I feel like I actually want to catch a little bit of that blue in here. Just subtle. It's so dark in there that at least we have plenty of range to play with. Maybe. We'll think about it. Yeah, working as a sketch artist then and having to do things quickly all the time actually made it so then later I just really started to appreciate being able to slow down and kind of take more time on things. And I think that's really what made me appreciate doing that kind of stuff a lot more. I think that's a little dark. So yeah, now I mean I enjoy both. There are times that like I love when we get crazy slammed at work and like just gotta hustle and crank out sketches or crank out a painting, and it can be fun to not have time to overthink shit. But at the same time, it also becomes a lot of fun to be able to slow down and overthink shit. So I enjoy both. I kind of feel like I should do. Where working with the wet brush can be nice, just to get that sort of automatic mixing, sort of save yourself the added step of having to smudge things together sometimes. I mean, you'll still want to maybe for some more fine-tuned control, but wet brush can at least help with some of that. And then afterward, we'll also get in and do all kinds of like little flyaways and stuff, just to those always help to sell kind of hair and fur a bit more. Just that kind of added sort of depth of detail. think also working as a sketch artist, you get used to kind of maybe looking at things more from kind of the impression that they leave, right? Because I mean, we almost never have time to like really detail out everything, so it all becomes about indication and just getting that proper impression across. And I think that's one of the reasons I just don't tend to zoom in much. I mean, sometimes it's fun to just get in there and just spell out every little detail. But I don't do that much. I don't love doing that. I love it when other people do it. There are people who just do that stuff really well, get in there into like every textile and all that stuff, and it's so cool. And I always think, oh man, I want to do something like that. And then I'm like, no, do I though? No, I don't. Sense of the texture and the fur. I love using flat brushes, by the way, right? Because I can get that kind of mark, and I can get that kind of mark, all with one brush, and it can just lend itself really nicely to some calligraphy, which just happens naturally in the real world. So it comes in handy if you don't have to like mess with that too much, and you can just sort of get that with one brush. I think it saves a lot of time. think I'm gonna have to do a little more work on those lily pads too. I mean, I love the simplicity of them, but yeah, we'll see. It's a nice kind of graphic nature, but then next to that rock, which ended up just sort of looking very photographic, I feel like the lily pads might be a little too simple. Ooh, that's fun. It's like really catching that rim light on him and just like lighting it up. But what I also want is some want some atmosphere between, because his wings all folded up, right? So I want some atmosphere between him and that wing. So let's figure that out. Airbrush. So we'll just try this first. Can dig it. I don't know if I want overlay or not. Obviously not that. Sometimes just keeping things on a normal layer just gives you more control, because then on top of the value and the saturation and the color, you can also control the opacity, whereas the blending layers, you don't get to do that. So let's do this. That was too cool anyway. I want it to be a nice warm golden kind of a color. And we just go a bit subtle. Doing, kidding? Hmm? Sometimes my cat gets upset when I'm talking and I'm not talking to her. Since I live alone, generally the only person I'm talking to, or the only thing I'm talking to, is my cat. Or maybe I'm yelling at the TV or something. I don't really yell at the TV. I'm not that kind of person. Okay. Gives us a little bit of depth there. Alright. Let's work on our girl also. This edge is bugging me. I can't handle it. Generally round shapes and shapes with fur or hair will be softer on the edges. So it was just bugging me because it just seemed too harsh. Even these rounder shapes on the rocks should have maybe not so crisp of an edge. Little details. It's the only thing when you put it all on like one layer. Gotta be careful. Maybe I should have thought about that. Well, there was no way I was gonna break this little tiny portion up into multiple layers, so whatever. And she's got these like rabbit kind of ears, big rabbit ears, these like rabbit legs, and these like falcon wings and tail. Strictly speaking, falcon wings and a hawk tail. But now see here that rim light, especially on her ear, is just too even, and it just looks it'll flatten out a form really fast. So gotta be careful with that. Okay, then. Maybe we will start with some of this blue and then work our way to the rim light. Sometimes I just totally forget about the quick menu, even though I took the time to set it up. I think there's something that I kind of like about physically switching between things. Now I do want this to be a very localized light source. I don't want it to reach too far. Right. If it reaches too far, it gives it the impression of being really bright. Hi, little cat. Needy little cat. But that's okay. Little tiny subtleties. Who knows if these will even read by the time this thing's printed. It might be too small for these to actually make a difference, but whatever, can't help it. It's tough. One of the things we always need to consider now, we didn't used to, is the fact that screen technology is now past print technology in terms of the amount of detail that we can see. It didn't used to be that way. Right before 4K. You don't have to go back that far. You can go to QHD, and print was still sharper than what you saw on the screen. But now, when you get 4K and 5K or higher displays, you can paint stuff that won't show up in a print. That's something to kind of consider and be aware of, I think. It can be tricky if you can't like run off test prints and stuff right away. But add some. There are accents in here. I want some atmosphere too, because like the back wing and stuff, and her back leg, they're just too. They're just popping forward too much. So let's kick those back. Kick them back. Couple ways we can do it, and we'll just go for something very simple. Brush on low opacity. I think we'll get the job done. It might be a little too much there. Just to help her silhouette read a little bit more, right? Again, it's okay to stylize when it's in the interest of design. I mean, with how small she is, there's no way we'd be getting that kind of atmosphere happening just from one wing to the next, but whatever. We can do it anyway. If you've ever looked at like a peregrine falcon, I haven't seen them. Granted, I haven't like searched for it really either, but at the, I guess what would be their wrist, right at the top of the wing. You can't see me pointing, but they have these two little feathers right there, and I'm assuming that's for some kind of like fine-tuned aerial acrobatics, because obviously, you know, no other creature on the planet reaches speeds as high as they do, so I'm assuming they need some kind of specialized wing structure to be able to, you know, handle 200 miles an hour with any kind of control, because what the hell. You think they're just like super stoked to be peregrine falcons, because they're just like, I'm just gonna soar up in the sky and I'm gonna dive down at 180 or 200 miles an hour. I'm gonna punch a pigeon mid-flight, and then I got my dinner. Pretty badass. Poor pigeon. Actually, with those speeds, they don't feel a thing. And because the sun is pretty much brighter than any other light source, we can still have the rim light kind of overpowering. I don't like it there though. I need to keep that silhouette pretty clear. But we can still have it overpowering the light from the flame, because there's no way a little blue flame, even a sacred one, will overpower the sun. Too bad. No, let's skip this track. Okay. It's not working. Well, let's finish this. Nice thing about working on a character when they're small like this, though, is that you can get away with not going too crazy. Because we start getting too many details in there anyway, it's not going to work. It's just going to get busy and it'll be weird. It'll be awkward. Don't want that. color. Let's bring some of that sky tone. Right, because if it's not catching direct light, what it will be doing is catching that some of that color from the sky dome. But I also want to play with just catching some cool lights too in some of the shadow planes that are facing maybe toward us or up, but I do need to get some of that environment color in here as well. So let's get a little bit of a nice kind of cool, which doesn't have to be like literally a cool color. We can just all we have to do is take this, we can cool it off a little and then just desat it maybe and just catch like on the side, on her hip, catch a little bit of some kind of a cool, who knows, maybe the sky is more blue somewhere behind us, you know? So then these planes that are facing that way can be kind of catching some of that. Who knows? It just helps to model the form so it doesn't all flatten out too much. Shit, there was something I was gonna do and I told myself I was gonna remember and I don't. I think I'm getting old. Once you hit 40, man, it's all downhill. I'm telling you. Nah, my memory's still pretty good. But I have learned not to bog it down too much. Write shit down. Because maybe you'll remember it, maybe you won't. Writing down helps you remember. And then if you forget, you can just look again. Unless you forget to look. And I've done that. Written ideas down for stories and then, like, forgot that I wrote them down, and like 3 months later it was like, okay, I gotta rethink this, and I'm like, okay, I got it, and I write something down, I look back through my notes and it turned out I already wrote that thing down like 2 months before. God damn it. Thought it was so clever, and here I was, it had already been there. Yeah, I don't like that. Don't like that. I like it on her back and the tail, but not on the wing. It doesn't feel like get a little variation in the darks on the wing, like in the pattern, not the shadows, just the actual feather patterns. Just want some variation because they're looking too flat. Thing, those rocks just kind of like worked out really nicely, but now I gotta kind of get things closer to those so it doesn't look too weird. Let's get some light behind them. And I think this one will be an add layer. That might be a little too hectic. Okay. Like the idea of it, but I think maybe soft light will be better. Maybe. If it even does anything. It's like hardly doing anything. Alright. Ooh. Hard light actually might give us what we want. Just not exactly this. Clear. Yeah, that's what we want. Where are, let's see, Nikolai brushes. These don't work so well. There. Alright, we need. Sorry, I'm just like mumbling to myself. I just want some like kind of a little more debris and stuff in the air. So we'll blur this stuff a bit so that it's not like these perfect circles, right? I probably have a better sort of dust brush. I'm just not going to look for it right now. Get rid of some of those bigger blobs. And we'll just do a little bit of motion blur. Bit of motion blur. Kick the opacity down, kick those guys back. I don't want them to get too distracting. But there we're starting to get some nice atmosphere. Blake, I'm doing well, man. You know, a little bit of a late night stream. It's like almost 10:15 here. But I'm doing well. I just figured, I was like, you know what, I got to get this done so we can put it up on the Kickstarter campaign. So I did a little bit of work on it today, but just because I had some downtime from work, so I wasn't able to stream all the process. But I figured, okay, let's do some, let's get some of it done. And it's getting there. Of course, before I threw all this light on, right, that rim light on the tree in the foreground looked a lot better. Yeah, I don't really want to kick it up too much, though. I feel like it'll just get too blah if I do that. Okay, let's address these lily pads a little bit. They don't need much, they just need a little bit of variation. Yeah, not a whole lot. I think we just need something to kind of break up the monotony a little bit. Plus, sitting like right up on these really dark rocks, I think they need a little bit more dark, a little more punch. But yeah, not much. Even that's making a difference. Probably don't need to go that dark, huh? Whoa. What is that? Yeah. Yeah, I might drop it. There are a few things I want to, like some little details that I want to kind of get in there, and then I'll be able to kind of fine tune some of that stuff. I'm so tempted to put like a lotus flower in here, or a few lotus flowers. Might make for a nice little kind of pop of detail, but shit. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, that's the wrong layer. Wait, I'm not done with you yet. Can, because I'm gonna get some kind of light bleed and stuff happening, but I just want to kind of get other things in place first. One of which is Similar to how we have her catching some like kind of cool light from somewhere behind us. I want to get some of that on our friend here. And actually, because he's so big, I do want to do a little bit more rendering on him. No, man, it's all good. I mean, sort of the point of live streaming sometimes, I think, right, is just to like throw ideas around, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Sometimes maybe they just don't work for that piece, but it can give you ideas on something else. So I always prefer this stuff to kind of be a little more interactive, you know? It's like when I used to teach, I always liked it to be a little more of a conversation. I liked students asking questions, because otherwise I feel like I'm just sitting there like talking at them. So I much prefer conversing. I don't want to sit here like painting the crap out of the fur, but I do want to get into some of it. I just don't want him to be too flat. Mostly what it is. So a little bit of a kind of subtle rendering. I wish, and I don't know why. Like, it could just be that they don't want to be too much like Photoshop, but I do wish that Procreate could like really show the. Well, I know there's an option for the brush icon, but I think I have it on. Yeah, my brush cursor is on. So I just wish, like, maybe when the stylus got close to the screen, like, the cursor would appear. I think it only appears, yeah, as you're painting, and that's kind of annoying. Especially for you guys, because you can't quite see where the hell I'm working. I'm working on his face right now. Just trying to get a little bit of at least like subtle modeling in the fur a bit. But what'll also help will be, I'm gonna get some like kind of dark accents in some of the fur. Those calligraphic marks. That you get. So catch at least a little light on these claws. so that we can at least see that they're like maybe a different material, right? Always good to differentiate materials where you can, and the specular highlight will do just that. Yeah, actually these guys, I designed something like this. I was like, oh man, what if a dragon was a mammal and not like Falcor? Like, we love Falcor, but he's cheesy as shit. He just looks goofy. Like I wanted a legit kind of mammal dragon. And actually I have other ones too, not just a tiger, but ones that are like smaller ones that are more of like a wolf dragon, and then even smaller ones that are like fox dragons, and then ones that are more like kind of leopard leopard dragons and that kind of a thing. So have some varieties. This one's just my favorite, and even this guy, you can see it goes from stripes to spots because I like to kind of mix and match some of that stuff. Indirish MV. I don't even know how you say that. ND. We're gonna call you ND. How long have I been working on this? That is a good question. Let's see. Stats. 10 hours. Wow, really? No. Really? Maybe. Crazy. Doesn't feel like 10 hours. 10 hours. Crazy. I feel like normally this wouldn't take me 10 hours, but that's okay. I've been actually, I'm not surprised. There's been a lot of back and forth because I was trying things out and trying to get certain things to work that didn't quite want to work. And so there was definitely a lot of like painting and unpainting and repainting and all that fun stuff. I want to get, this is not the right brush for that. Actually, fuck it. Let's just actually use something that will give us a more triangular shape. Too small. My other pet peeve with Procreate is that it doesn't show, when you resize a brush, it doesn't show it relative to the canvas that you're working on. So it's always like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes you waste time just trying to find the right brush size. That's where all the 10 hours went. Resizing my brush. 10.5 hours or whatever it was. Fresh perspective. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or I could call you Irish. ND works. ND works. Yeah, Blake, I did. What, with the stream settings, what happened was my base canvas was too high in OBS. I didn't realize it was set that high. And because the way that I'm streaming, I have my iPad plugged into the computer, and I'm just mirroring the screen with QuickTime, which is super easy. And I just select that QuickTime window as my OBS source. And that window was also a little too big. So there were a couple things that I just had to, once I kicked those down a bit, so it wasn't trying to capture I forget that my iMac has a 5K monitor, so it was sitting there trying to capture a 3K window with a base canvas of 2K or something, and then streaming it out at 1080. So once I kicked it all basically down to 1080, it smoothed things out. Remembering that my internet connection is better than my computer. We need some water lines in here. Water lines. And ND, the paper technique stuff, I really want to stream some of that stuff again. It's just some of my equipment kind of crapped out. I think it might just be cables that I need to replace. So I don't really have a good way of capturing that stuff right now. And then, when the quarantine and shit hit, it was just impossible to get any of that stuff. I'll get there. I'll get back there. Because, I'd like to stream that as well. But I figured, rather than waiting to try and get that stuff, I don't want to be fighting and having to paint around those lily pads. But rather than waiting to get the equipment, I was like, you know what, I can at least stream digital stuff. Also, if you guys didn't see, we did launch the Kickstarter for the book. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the Kickstarter is live. I can probably, let's see. There it is. If you're interested, the book's going to be pretty awesome. It's 350 pages of my sketches and drawings and paintings and doodles and whatnot. And Spiridon did a fucking awesome job designing it. So Hats off to that guy. He is a beast and a rock star. Thing I do want to try out is some light bleed. Just have to think of what kind of brush I want to use. Oh, that thing's giant. That could work. Maybe. Yeah, we'll tone this stuff down. This is just like, for now, placeholder. Just to get the idea in there. I think I might have to. Woo! Hectic. Hectic. I don't hate it. Just bear with me. Getting a little bit of a kind of organic texture, and then we will blur it a bit. Down. Giant. Erase some of that out. The idea of it, but not quite that. So, airbrush it is. Friendly neighborhood airbrush. All good, dude. Like, no worries. The project got backed, so I'm happy. After the Kickstarter, it will be available on the Editions Corette website. So at a later date, if you feel like you want to, you can always get it then. Yeah, that's working better. Working much better. In this particular piece, I just really want like a lot of light. Like there's a lot of humidity in the air, you know. So as that sun is getting low, it's just like refracting everywhere. That's what I want. So you can get a little bit more on her. So it's like every bit I just want like a nice glow of light wrapping around everything, you know? It just lends itself to a little bit of magic. I mean, that's part of why you can get just some amazing sunsets and stuff in the tropics. And I mean, you don't even have to go to the tropics. You could go to Louisiana. But the humidity is just like it does some really cool things with the light. So that's kind of what I really wanted to play with. Let's get you as well. Oh, thanks, Theo. I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun sharing everything on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could do it more, but you know, work. But I can't complain. Cannot complain. I'm just looking at the background and I don't know if I like, there's an aspect of it that feels a little flat, but I also kind of like it from a graphic design standpoint. So I'm debating. I am debating what I want to do with that. Maybe we can push and pull that a little bit. Just wanted a little more, you know, luminosity in the sky. Felt like I was losing it a little bit. So a little more separation. can dig it. I can dig it. And so this will be printed at, I'm looking for something that I have plenty of A4 stuff here. Basically, this size is what it will be printed at, right? So this is A4. The book, my book is also this same size. So that's the size that the prints will be. So I feel like for that size, this is pretty good. I actually printed it or painted it. I think I have it at A3. I'm pretty sure. So I always like to work bigger than what I'm actually printing at. So. I see some lines that are bugging me from the line art. So quickest way to deal with those is trusty smudge tool. Let's see where we started. I think with this one, I duplicated another canvas, so we'll probably see yeah, we see the beginning of that other canvas somewhere in there. I don't know, disappeared, but just to kind of see, we got into the nitty-gritty line art. Then my usual, just getting rid of the white. Even when I oil paint, I tend to use a kind of like a burnt sienna sort of a ground that I paint on top of. So I like to approach these things in the same way. Got into the background. Just kind of playing with color. Those trees were way too green. So at some point, here they get a lot more gold. Every step of the way, I think at some point I was like, okay, I have to get these other elements in so I can understand how the light is going to work. My lily pads, which, just did them flat and then just, I think, distorted the layer or skewed the layer or something. Got into the foreground tree. And I was debating what to do with that tree. At a certain point, I think I bring in one of Max's crazy gouache brushes because I was like, I need that tree to be more organic and more detailed. It was looking too tiny with the scale of the what we read as leaves. So it's blocking in local colors, knowing that I would do a multiply layer for the shadows. So that same crazy gouache brush of Max's for the rocks. I was just like, oh my god, it's perfect. They look like rocks. Yeah, so then you can see here, I do that on the tree. Just to make it a bit more organic and break up the shapes in a better way. More tree work, light particles, dust particles. What did I do there? That background. Oh yeah, I threw some of that blue onto the tree. I think it's catching some of that kind of skylight. Put more over the background. I think I wanted the background to just go more gold and then have some color variation within that. And then this is about where the stream started tonight. Right? Who knows what, with all the little details, you're not going to see it. Right, getting our rim lighting in. Then he really starts to come to life. Starts sitting in the environment in an understandable kind of a way. Right? Hit the lights on her. Yeah. Of course, playing with our light bleed. There. Ooh, light bleed. It's one of my favorite things when I'm sketching at work, like at the very end, and I get to do that light bleed. I'm like, oh, it's so much fun. It's so satisfying. Yeah. Alright, well, for now I'm happy with this. I'm debating still if I want to put any lily flowers or, right, water lilies. No, what's the lotus flowers. But if I do, I'm not going to do that tonight because I don't know if I want to. Kind of like how it is. I like that those lily pads give us some breathing room and a place to rest a little bit. Because there's so much happening in the rock, so much texture and stuff. So I think it's kind of nice to have a little bit of simplification in there. Big fan of breathing space. Thanks, Vagor. What time is it where you are? It's about 11 at night where I am. I'm about to call it a night. But I think I'll probably do a bit more streaming tomorrow morning. I'm just not sure what piece I'm going to start on. I still want to do the diptych, I think, of the cyber elf girls, like jumping down the side of the building. So maybe I'll get into one of those. But we'll see. I may actually, no, there's more stuff I'm going to do. Sorry, false alarm. Sorry, not sorry. The flyaways and the whiskers. Like, I knew there was something. It's like, no, there's something I really wanted to do. Can't get away with not having whiskers. And for this, I don't want it to be a clipping mask. Because I want to be able to go off that base shape. Let's see. How big is that? Might be a little too small. think that'll be too bright. Too light. My girlfriend's cat has this like one white whisker on either side, and I like that. It's cute. So yeah, just getting into the flyaways just adds that bit of extra kind of detail. I think that helps sell it a little more, and will help the fur look more rendered than it actually is. Right? It doesn't take much. It's all that implied detail, and then our brain fills in the rest. We just need that little bit of authenticity, right? It just helps to tighten it all up. The challenge is always to then keep it from getting too regular. You want to sort of break up the angles and all that. And again, who knows how much of this will be visible in the print, but whatever. There we go. Can't have a big kitty without the whiskers. Just wanted to get a little more definition in the ear. Whoa. The other reason I would love to have to be able to see the size of the brush relative to the canvas I'm working on is because some brushes inherently are just huge and others are not, and sometimes you don't know until you put it down and it just like obliterates half your painting and it's like undo. There we go. Damn, 2 a.m., huh? Oh, my pleasure, man. And yeah, I actually wanted, because, I get fascinated with like really dark stories sometimes, but I really wanted something that just had like a really nice feeling to it, Just wanted to paint someplace that I would like to go to. That was sort of my idea with this. So, let's, where are we? Just want to clean up that. Wait, what? No. up this edge a little bit. Look at me. Even though it's way down in the corner, and don't want to neglect it. Trying to keep in mind the general scale of things. I don't want things to read as too big or too small. So, but I dig it. I can dig it. Man, I want a tiger dragon. I'm debating if I feel like the light is getting too hot around where the tree is. Got a little bit of light in there, but I like it. I like how luminous that feels, and I don't really want to change it. And the nice thing is she's such a dark shape, and she's a bigger dark shape than that light space is, so I feel like she still pulls your attention, which is cool. That's what I want. So I'm not going to worry about it. But out of curiosity, if we were to kick that down a little bit, hypothetically speaking, if we did nudge that down a little bit. No. Oh. Maybe somewhere in between. Still have a bit of detail in there. I think that maybe that can work. Alright, we'll keep it there. It's not much, but it's enough so that it's not a hot white. It doesn't pull your attention quite as much. We'll do that. Okay. Thanks, Theo. I appreciate it. A lot. I'm definitely going to be on more often. I'll probably be doing digital for a while until I get around to figuring out another traditional setup. But for now, I think the digital stuff is fine. And it's fun. So... yeah, Vagor, that's one of the things I think I even kind of say on the Kickstarter is that there's something to me that's really fascinating about implying a larger adventure. I'm really fascinated with the beginnings of adventures. I love that. I don't know why. I always have that idea of setting out on some kind of a journey. But I also like these kind of moments where there's a specificity to them, but maybe hopefully there's a little bit of a timelessness too, that kind of implies something happened before and something is going to happen after. I really enjoy doing that stuff. So I'm glad that there's some of that coming through for the viewer. It's not just all in my head. So, I think I'm gonna call it for now, and we'll see how I feel about it in the morning. We might start on a new piece. I might noodle this a little bit in the morning, but I don't want to noodle it too much. I'm gonna try and leave it, unless I really see something I'm like, okay, let's do something about that. So anyway, I think I'm gonna call it for tonight. 11 o'clock is past my bedtime usually, but I just felt like I really needed to get something down and share some of it with you guys, so I wanted to make it happen. Until next time, which will probably be tomorrow morning, I hope all of you guys have a great night, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys later. Laters.